I'm Stuart, reporting from cadred.org. I'm here with an old friend, an old colleague indeed, and somebody that I wasn't expecting to bump into at IEM, probably should have known better. It's the man called Tosspot, Stuart to his friends. So Stu, what are you doing here? Because you took this hiatus from esports, so let's start there. Where have you been?
So I went to work for a company called Streamworks. They were an encoding technology company, reducing bandwidth for delivery. And I hadn't given up on esports, so I was still doing stuff with Crossfire and ET, but not the esports that was exploding in the background with StarCraft, League of Legends, and so forth. And then last year, one of our biggest contracts that we picked up that I was heavily involved in was MLG, and that was kind of the pulling in back to esports. And now, as of May 1st, I'm working as Director of Content and Strategy at Own3d.
So, before we come to that, because I know you're going to want to talk about that stuff, and I've got some questions definitely that I want to go over. Like, as one of the distinctive voices out there, and I would definitely say that you are, out of all the shoutcasters I've heard, I think you've got a very unique style, and I think you stand out quite well from the crowd, so to speak. But everyone else kind of, you know, Joe Miller went to League of Legends, D-Man went to League of Legends. We saw some people kind of jump into the StarCraft 2 thing where they previously hadn't been. Do you feel like maybe you missed out on a big payday? You know, what are your thoughts about what they did and maybe what you should have done?
It's a good question, actually, because there's no doubt that, you know, the dreams that we had back in like 2004. 2004, my first LAN event shoutcasting, where we were trying to scrape together a travel budget, you know, to get there. It was all for the love. It was a travel budget. And now, where people are making bona fide good earnings out of it through their shoutcasting fees and through streaming revenue that they make, I'm obviously envious because they're doing what I was really enjoying and still enjoy. The problem I have is that I used to cast Warcraft 3, and I was not legitimate in Warcraft 3. I was not a fan, it was not my game. I did it because there were events, and it didn't feel right, I didn't enjoy it. You know, anyone who's seen me cast knows when I'm enjoying a game. I'm not quiet about it. And I struggle outside of FPS to get that kind of legitimacy, like this is amazing. I can watch StarCraft 2 games and get into it. I'm now learning League of Legends and I can get into it. But I can't focus on the minutia that's in there. You know, the League of Legends, the metagame and that is too much for me. I don't have it in me. I play SimCity Social now.
Right.
That's about as disrespectful as I can be to Tosspot of old.
Well, what do you think of the guys who are getting that payday right now, though? Because I'm with you. I think some of them just ain't legit. I think the community have embraced them, which I'm always surprised by when that happens in esports. But there's some guys out there that I think, you know, you're fooling no one by pretending you're loving the game. I mean, do you think that as well?
In some instances, you see like names that you're like, I don't really associate you with this genre of game, but in the ones that I know, you know, the Lees, D-Man, Joe, DJ Wheat, Tasteless, and so on, you know, they are totally, they've been doing this, they eat, sleep, and drink esports, and, you know, you can sense that from their cast. So, you know, more for those that do, and if in others that you question, you know, why, you can see that these games are pulling over players from all types of genres. They're all encompassing, their player numbers are huge, so I think it just takes a little bit of work to get used to those that you're not familiar with.
So you said you love FPS. Obviously we focus on Counter-Strike, not quite as much as we used to. We've diluted nicely, I think, and done some good work in other games, but Counter-Strike is still our bread and butter. So Global Offensive, have you given much thought about it?
Well, I got top on the scoreboard on one of the public servers I was playing a couple of weeks ago, so
bad game.
Yeah, I pretty much must be the best player around. I really was playing it as a pub game and had no interest, you know, just from my playing perspective, so I didn't see all the bugs that you can read that people are complaining about. And then this week there was a release that a lot of people have told me it's really almost there now. So I'm waiting to play that and see whether that comes to the forefront and makes it. So I really want CSGO to be it. It's not esports without some form of FPS. Quake is now gone. ET, you know, I can't understand why ESL haven't picked up ET. It's still the best game out there, but yeah, it needs a big FPS title.
So, right, let's get down to the meat and drink of it all. Owned, look, I don't know what's going on exactly. It's a little bit out of my area of expertise, but I see Twitch everywhere, I see Owned everywhere. Obviously, you're rivals. So, what is going on? What's the current state of play?
Well, this was what was incredible. In those 2 years whilst I was out of esports, this kind of, you know, media rights acquisition bidding war kind of started between these two companies who, 2 years ago, although Own3d were around as like a VOD platform, but you know, were not around to the size and stature they were now. And now you're almost in this point where you have sports media rights like IMG, Sport 5, those types of organizations going for rights of tournaments, of teams, and so on. It's phenomenal. It's another revenue stream, and the big thing is that teams, way back when, always needed revenue streams that weren't just endemic brands like Intel, Alienware, and so on, and now they've got that. And so I think it's fantastic for the industry.
But of course, having a vested interest on one side of that, do you not think Twitch maybe have a little bit of the upper hand because they've made it the esports niche their focus, owned kind of a bit more, I would say, across the board? It's still gaming focused, but not as specific to esports as Twitch maybe is. I don't know, is that right? Is that wrong? You tell me.
I would say it's wrong. I would say that we support a huge number of teams. We sponsor Mousesports, we sponsor MTW, we sponsor CLG, we sponsor, you name a team, and it's quite likely that out of many in the North America and most of the European teams and some of the Asian teams, we sponsor them, we support them, we get them streaming. So that part of it, we're right behind it. We have a number of tournaments that we support as well. We look at games, we work with the developers. We are as hardcore into esports as anyone. My background, the COO is a former Quake pro, the CTO used to play ET, so he's clearly my favorite. We are right.
So that's how you got the job, right?
Yeah. It was really weird that I walked in and it's like, you're Master from GamesTV.org. It's like, you used to run ETTV servers, and it was crazy. But in that sense, we're as esports focused as our competition are, and we're both pushing for the betterment of esports and for the betterment of our own companies, of course. There is a rivalry, sometimes it's friendly, sometimes it's not. I have a lot of friends over there, they have friends over here. It is what it is. It's a very evolving space. It changes week on week.
So talk me through the bidding wars that must be going on behind the scenes, because how does it all work? I mean, like, there's a big event coming up. You guys want some kind of exclusivity. Twitch wants some exclusivity. Everyone gets together. Is it just about money? I mean, how does it work?
So you are Insignia Cadre, the old CS sort of team, and you are out there and you have a huge brand. You're the number one team, and you have to work out, how can I make another revenue stream? If I start streaming, then I can build a critical mass that I can sell to sponsors, and I can sell to a streaming platform. So they will build up their own stats, and they will have their star power, and those types of things will be, used to generate a value. So you have Richard Lewis, star Counter-Strike player. We want him on our platform. He's the best. You have Team Brand. It's always in the top 3 in the game. We want that. You have streaming stats. You have 1 million people watching your streams per month. And so you kind of build up a value as to what that equates to. And both business models on both sides of the pond are advertising based. So how can we sell against that on an advertising level? How can we build marketing around the Team Brand? And you come up with a value that you sponsor your team with. And it's very it's boring in that sense. It's methodical. You make an offer, 9 times out of 10, that player, that team knows there's a second offer I can get, and I can compare the two against each other, and that's how that is formed. But we work as we like to build our partners. You look at the number of our teams that we've had, particularly in the League of Legends space, they've just grown with us as we have grown, and we promote them on our front page and through our social media. We like to promote, we like to grow our brands, we like to not look at it as just pure money. We look at it a way in which we can help them represent themselves, grow, and build their own fan base off the back of it.
And what about in terms of big events that you're looking at now? I mean, I know a lot of the people watching this will be StarCraft 2 orientated. So, I mean, how's that working? What have you got lined up? Is there anything you can leak to us? So our first event with MLG was MLG Anaheim. Then we had the MLG StarCraft Arena. We recently had their League of Legends and Fight Arenas, where we were the place where you would buy HD upgrades. We'll be with MLG for Rally as well. There'll be syndicated content. So we're working with MLG quite closely and very much enjoying that. They are, along with ESL, one of the be-all and end-alls. 12 months ago, you would have seen ESL and DreamHack on Owned, and that's what, in your last question, you see how, those types of bids evolve and they move from one to another depending on how things go. And we have a number of smaller, non-offline events that we support as well, who run their own tournaments, and so we support them through that. So we look at it kind of game by game. What's our stature in that game? How can we improve it? Who are the key players? And that's how we work. Right, so it is the kind of last thing I want to ask you before I start doing a few wrap-up questions. We got Carmack off camera. He's making some very rude gestures, by the way. Right, and that is, this whole kind of streaming thing that's boomed and really pushed esports into the forefront, is that something we're going to see where the bubble's going to burst? Because you know what it's like. What goes up must come down, and everyone's really saturating the market with content right now. Everyone's got a stream. Everyone's putting out low-budget streaming shows, and then there's you guys, which are kind of the kingpins of it all. Are you worried that this is just going to go like the .com boom, and all of a sudden it ain't going to be worth a thing?
The streaming numbers are very cyclical. They follow the game numbers. They follow tournament numbers. So if a game has a lot of tournaments and it's just come out, you see a streaming number go up. Then you hit kind of the life cycle that StarCraft 2 is hitting right now, and you can see, all right, I've been following this for 2 to 3 years now. What more am I going to see on this player's stream? Maybe not. Maybe I'll move on. So it is like that. But I think if you look at the likes of the names you mentioned at the start, if you get Red Eye, if you get D-Man, if you get DJ Weed, if you get Joe streaming, the quality and the entertainment value that you get is always going to be there, and it's always going to attract viewers. And what we like to do is we like to try and get some of our individual streamers to look at some of those things and say, these are things you can bring into your stream that will make you timeless. And we have guys on our site like Phantom Lord and Ocelot who are, in my opinion, not just game streamers but entertainers. And that's the way that you prevent the bubble from bursting in your game and your community. You stay entertaining to your viewership. And that's the way that we combat that, because you're right, it's going to go peaks and troughs no matter what. You have to broaden the pool as to who you're working with, look at the developers who are doing outside of esports work as well, and you have to combat that because everything is cyclical. Would
it make sense then for someone like an Own3d to offer some sort of, I know it's very hard for new casters to get into the industry. I think there's not a lot of talent out there, and I think there are some people in inflated positions that aren't commensurate to their talent. I think there's some casters that are actually not that good, but they enjoy huge status because it's a very tiny field in which they're operating in. What plans should a company like yours have to help promote that new generation of talent, and do you indeed have any?
So we have, some of our team, Jason in particular, will work with the streamers and say, these are things you can do to kind of, change from being a player talking about his game to being an entertainer. And that's one part of it. We'll look, on individual relationships and watch streams and try and help. But you're right, that overall, this is a job that we will maybe never get perfect at. We'll always have to keep improving and lowering the barrier to entry. And I think that goes on a technical level as well as a personality level, making it easier for people to just go, stream, be a personality and get viewers. So you're right that it's one of the key challenges. We have plans that we execute now, and we have plans that we're going to execute in the future to improve that and make it easier. We'll be aided by things like internet improving as well. I mean, I can't video stream from home. I can still only audio stream because
it's a nightmare in the UK as well, man.
And so those things will come and they will boost us as upload connections penetrate worldwide and improve. So there are a number of kind of factors that will play. I don't think the bubble is going to burst in any way, shape, or form to a complete kind of businesses shut down type of thing. I think as long as you're progressive, certain trends will work with you, and certain trends you have to stimulate yourself.
Two last questions, penultimate one. Because I ask lots of difficult questions, I think it's only fair we sort of air our laundry a little bit, and that's of course talking about Crossfire. Heaven Media, for those that didn't know, we used to own the website and whatnot, and it's now back in your hands. Wasn't really a good fit, I don't think. It didn't kind of work out the relationship we would like. How's it going taking that back over, and have you been enjoying it, and have the community welcomed you back with open arms?
So we did, first of all, very shortly after the kind of change of ownership, we did a Battle for Berlin tournament with Razer, and that was hugely successful. It was a great we focused on just premium coverage, lots of written news, and the admins on Crossfire did a phenomenal job at stimulating that. And that was a marvelous tournament, marvelous event. So that's definitely something where we can prove that the game, no matter how much, if ESL aren't going to pick up ET, and I tell Carmack to do it every time, that we can keep it stimulated and we can keep our audience going. We also realize that our players are also playing a number of other games, so we're working on how we make content for that. We then re-released the site with a new design and new code. That has been well received in some areas. In other areas, people don't love change.
You know how that is.
Yeah, but we will continue to improve, and we have active development which we hadn't had for a long time. So we're continuing to stimulate an age-old game and an age-old community and say, we still love you. There are still things for you to do here.
So, final question. I was out at a summer assembly, and I did an interview with Two Goods. I asked him the question, who do you think the biggest asshole in esports is? And your name actually came up. I'm not trying to stir the pot here, but that is what he said. He said, I can't really think of anyone, but if I had to say someone, I think it would be Tosspot. And when we kind of went around it, he said, I think it's because he kind of hates me and he thinks I'm the biggest asshole in esports. So I just wondered if you had, as a nice note to end on, if you had any response to that.
James, this time last year, I was traipsing around here trying to get into the wargaming party because you said we could get in, and we never did, and I gave up. That deserves an arsehole status. We were traipsing around for hours, and in the end, I left, and he got in. So, James, you are the biggest arsehole in esports. There you go.
So there we are. We're stirring up rivalries and all sorts of stuff here. Look, great to talk to you, man. Good to see you again. I hope you enjoy your time here, and best of luck with your new project. And all the people out there at calibre.org, do stay tuned to the website. More interviews like this one from here at Gamescom 2012.